Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a whole stack of research articles, expert analyses, institutional reports, and we're zeroing in on one of the most fundamental decisions you face with digital assets, the connectivity conundrum.
It's a critical choice.
Yeah.
And it dictates the security, the accessibility, and ultimately the resilience of your entire crypto portfolio.
Right. So our mission today is to cut through the jargon and really give you a complete picture of the trade-off. We're talking bank-level security versus instant real-time access.
And that balance is everything.
It is, because unlike traditional banking, where you're insured and errors can often be reversed, with crypto, the full heavy weight of security is pretty much directly on your shoulders.
It is. The risk of theft, of hacks, and unauthorized access is constant.
And when something goes wrong, that's it.
That's the key distinction, really. When assets are compromised or just lost on a blockchain, that loss is typically final. It's irreversible.
So before you even decide how you store it, you have to decide who. Who is ultimately responsible for the key that unlocks your funds?
Okay, let's unpack that. The core question of control.
Custody.
Exactly. Custody. And it's really defined by two core concepts. First, you have what's called custodial storage.
Okay.
Here, a third party, so this could be a major exchange, a brokerage, or even a specialized institutional custodian, they take on the responsibility of holding and managing your cryptographic private keys on your behalf.
That sounds comfortable. You know, it's convenient. It offers professional-grade security. I can see why a lot of people prefer it. They just don't want the technical hassle.
They don't. But what's the risk?
If I only have a small amount, isn't the exchange's security perfectly fine?
The risk is total third-party reliance. The convenience comes with counterparty risk.
Right.
So if that platform suffers a massive hack or faces regulatory seizure or, most dramatically, it just goes insolvent.
And we've definitely seen that happen.
We have. I mean,
Yeah.
think about the Mt. Gox hack or
Sure.
just the sheer scale of the FTX collapse. In that scenario, you become an unsecured creditor.
And you could lose everything.
You could lose everything. And the alternative flips that responsibility completely back to you.
You become the sole guardian.
That's non-custodial storage. Here, the investor retains absolute, full control of their own private keys and their seed phrases.
This is the only way to get true digital sovereignty, right?
It is, and it's mandatory if you plan on using DeFi, decentralized finance, because you need the keys to actually sign transactions with dApps.
But the liability is 100% yours.
100%. If you lose or damage those critical identifiers without having proper backups, those funds are permanently gone. Irretrievable. You are the fire warden.
That brings us to what we actually need to protect. We keep throwing around private keys and seed phrases. It's so important to get your head around the difference.
Absolutely crucial. Think of it this way. The private key is the cryptographic code. It's the digital signature that's necessary to authorize any specific transaction. It proves you own the asset.
Okay, so it's the signature on the check.
A perfect analogy. And the seed phrase, which is typically 12 to 24 specific words in a specific order, that's the master key for the entire wallet's recovery.
So it's not just one asset.
No, it regenerates all the private keys for every asset managed by that wallet. So
Right.
if the private key is the signature on the check, the seed phrase is the key to the entire safe deposit box.
And losing or compromising either one.
Means permanent loss of funds, period.
Wow. That sets the table perfectly for our second major decision point, which is connectivity. This is where the rubber meets the road, the hot versus cold divide. We're basically deciding if our assets live in a checking account or a deep savings account.
Precisely. And the trade-off is stark. It's constant access versus total isolation.
Let's start with hot.
Okay, so hot wallets secure crypto while the private keys are constantly connected to the internet. They are built for speed, designed to act like your everyday spending wallet for real-time transactions.
We see these all the time. Mobile apps like Trust Wallet or MetaMask for DeFi, desktop software like Exodus, and of course the web wallets hosted by the exchanges themselves, like on Binance or Kraken.
And their advantages are obvious. Instant access for trading, spending, staking, seamless integration with the whole world of dApps.
But the risk comes directly from that connection.
It does. It presents a wide open surface for online threats.
So we're talking about everything from sophisticated phishing attacks trying to steal your seed phrase
Yep.
to keyloggers and malware designed to just snatch the private key while you're using it.
Exactly. Even with a non-custodial hot wallet, you're still trusting your computer's operating system, which is a huge vulnerability.
So really, these are best for active trading or just small spending amounts, cases where convenience really outweighs that heightened risk.
Which brings us to the maximum security solution: cold storage.
The fortress.
The fortress. This is the method where private keys are generated and stored entirely offline, totally isolated from the internet. It is, by definition, a digital safe deposit box.
And the ideal choice for long-term holding of significant value.
Without a doubt. The security is undeniable. It's immune to remote online threats like hacking and malware.
And since the key is offline, your assets are also safe from exchange failures or collapses, which is a huge deal for people after FTX.
It's a major draw. However, cold storage introduces friction.
You can't just swipe and spend.
No. Any transaction becomes a very manual, multi-step process.
Okay.
Useless for active traders.
And then there's the physical risk. You have to secure the actual device or the paper backup.
Right. And unlike free software, you have an upfront cost. A good hardware wallet is typically going to run you between $50 and $200.
So if you're holding serious value for the long term, cold storage is the undisputed champ. But let's go deeper on what that actually looks like. It's not just a generic USB stick.
No, not at all. The foundational type is the hardware wallet, a specialized physical device like a Ledger Nano X or a Trezor Model T.
Okay.
These are purpose-built to store your keys on an isolated, tamper-resistant chip. It's called a secure element, and it makes them immune to malware on your computer.
And then you have the lower tech, but maybe even more secure backups. What about paper wallets?
So paper wallets are literally just printed documents of your keys or QR codes. They're very high security when they're offline, but they're incredibly vulnerable to just life, fire, water damage, getting misplaced.
Which is why we've seen this evolution to metal wallets.
Exactly. Where the seed phrase is etched or stamped onto durable materials like stainless steel or titanium, they offer resistance to corrosion, fire, impact. It's a critical investment for a long-term holder.
For the absolute peak of security, the sources point to the air-gapped strategy. That sounds extreme. How does that work? Is it fair to call it an analog firewall for your private key?
That's a great analogy. It functions as a complete digital isolation ward. An air-gapped strategy involves using a specialized device or computer, often a high-security hardware wallet like a cold card, that is never allowed to connect to the internet. Ever.
Complete surgical isolation of the signing process.
That's the goal.
But if the device that signs the transaction is offline, how does it get sent out to the network?
It requires some careful choreography between two different environments. So first, you have an online computer running what's called a watch-only wallet. Sparrow is a popular one.
Okay, watch only.
It uses your public key to track your balance, but it has absolutely no private key information. This is where you draft or craft the unsigned transaction.
So I prepare everything, the destination, the main online, where it's convenient, but it doesn't have the signature it needs to be broadcast.
Exactly. Then that unsigned transaction file gets transferred, usually on a physical micro SD card or sometimes a QR code scan, to the fully offline hardware device.
And the magic happens there.
The magic happens there. The hardware wallet receives that unsigned file. It signs it securely using the private key, which crucially never leaves that offline device.
And then you move the signed file back to the online computer to broadcast it.
You got it. The private key remains completely insulated from the online world.
That is intensely secure, but wow, it really shows that convenience trade-off. Speaking of security practices, what about just memorizing the key? These brain wallets.
We have to talk about brain wallets, the practice of just memorizing the seed phrase. In theory, the security is high, it's resistant to physical theft, obviously.
But in reality?
In reality, they often lead to permanent loss. People forget the passphrase, or the phrase they chose is too weak and it gets cracked by a brute force attack. The risk profile is just too high.
So experts say, stay away.
Strongly advise against them. Using durable metal backups and following best practices like the 3-2-1 backup approach is really the only sustainable solution.
What's the 3-2-1 approach?
3 copies of your seed phrase using 2 different formats, say metal and paper, with one of them stored completely offsite.
Got it. So what does all this technical stuff mean for the average person? It seems like most experienced users find some kind of compromise.
They have to. It's essential for balance. The consensus is what we call the hybrid approach.
Pocket money and savings.
Exactly. Keep a small, manageable amount in a hot wallet for daily interactions, staking, quick DeFi stuff. Then the vast majority of your funds, your generational savings, has to live in cold storage for maximum security.
For large organizations, though, or DAOs, or just really high-value individuals, they need efficiency and multiple layers of approval. This brings us to institutional-grade solutions.
Right, and these are becoming more available to the public, too. Institutions might first look at warm wallets.
A middle ground.
A middle ground. They're connected to the internet, but they're engineered with these sophisticated governance layers that require multiple internal approvals before a transaction can be signed.
But the real security innovations are things like multi-signature and MPC.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so let's break down the mechanics of multi-signature, or multi-sig.
So multi-sig wallets, often built as smart contracts like SAFE, which used to be called Gnosis Safe, they require a predefined number of approvals before executing a transaction.
Like 2 out of 3 designated keys have to sign off.
For example, yes. And this drastically enhances security because it eliminates that single point of failure. If one key is compromised, the funds are still safe.
Perfect for managing a large treasury for a DAO or something.
It is. And then you have the even more advanced concept of multi-party computation, or MPC.
How is that different from multi-sig? Why do some institutions prefer it?
MPC is a cryptographic technology that mathematically divides the private key into key shares and then scatters those shares across multiple independent physical devices.
So no single person or device ever has the full key.
Never. That's the crucial difference. Unlike multisig, which needs multiple independent keys to authorize, MPC reconstructs the authorization dynamically without ever fully assembling the key in one place.
Wow. That guarantees institutional-grade security and prevents collusion or a single system compromise from wiping out all the assets.
It does. And the need for these complex governance measures really comes back to the irreversible nature of blockchain transactions.
Right. Unlike in traditional finance, where a bank might be able to correct an error for you. Here, a mistake is permanent. A breach is permanent.
That's the critical difference. Because transactions are decentralized and irreversible, these operational guardrails are mandatory. Custodians have to enforce policy filters, daily withdrawal limits.
Segregation of duties, constant checks on deposit addresses.
All of it. We can't overstate how important this is to prevent losses from hacks, malicious insiders, or just simple human error.
It's terrifying. I mean, the sources mention that example of a user accidentally sending $135,000 worth of an NFT to a burn address. Just a clerical error.
Gone forever. And that just underscores the finality of this environment. It's why institutional clients choose their custodians based on strict regulatory status, strong insurance policies, which self-custody offers none of, and a proven operational history. They're outsourcing the complexity.
And the liability.
And the liability.
And that sophistication is now bleeding into solutions designed for the everyday user. So let's turn to the future of wallet security, specifically solving that pain point of just losing your keys.
Yes, and this revolves around social recovery wallets. The context here is brutal. Estimates suggest that up to 20% of the entire Bitcoin supply might be lost forever because people lost or mismanaged their keys.
20%? That's unbelievable.
It's a usability crisis. Social recovery is seen as the key step toward solving this and getting to true mass adoption.
So how does it simplify recovery but still maintain that non-custodial security principle?
It basically replaces the single physical seed phrase with a distributed unlocking mechanism. The user chooses a group of trusted guardians. These could be family, friends, or even just other devices you own.
And these guardians don't actually know your key?
They don't. They just safeguard a key fragment. If you lose access to your primary device, a subset of those guardians, say 3 out of 5, has to approve the unlock. That allows a new key to be reconstructed on your new device.
So it's much more user-friendly and lowers the risk of that catastrophic loss.
Significantly.
So that addresses the human error side, but there's a huge long-term existential threat looming over all of this: quantum computing.
The quantum threat. It's a big one. Quantum computers are expected to be able to break the traditional public key cryptography, specifically RSA and elliptic curve cryptography, ECC, that secures every single crypto wallet today.
So the entire security backbone could just crack.
It could. The solution that's being worked on is post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. It's all focused on developing quantum-resistant protocols.
And what are researchers proposing as the fix?
We're seeing a big focus on something called lattice-based cryptography. It's a mathematical structure that even a quantum computer can't efficiently break. Specifically, the Kyber 512 algorithm is being proposed for key generation. It offers a robust 512-bit security level designed specifically to resist future quantum attacks. We're also seeing zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKPs, becoming really integral. allowing you to authenticate transactions without revealing any sensitive information.
Ultimately, though, the fundamental choice for you, the individual investor, it really remains that calculated balance between convenience and security.
It does. You have to align your storage strategy, daily use versus generational savings, with the right wallet type, hot or cold.
And regardless of the tools you choose.
Basic security hygiene is completely non-negotiable. Always enable two-factor authentication, keep your private keys strictly offline, and meticulously, painstakingly verify every single transaction address detail.
Because even with all the advanced systems we've talked about,
Human error is still the single greatest point of failure.
which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. Given the rapid rise of institutional-grade multi-party computation and the development of these user-friendly, quantum-resistant social recovery methods, will the simple physical piece of paper seed phrase soon become an obsolete high-risk relic of crypto's infancy? How long until storing your digital wealth on something as fragile as paper is considered completely irresponsible?